Welcome to the podcast. It's the magical holidays. Time for Joe watching 60 Christmas movies in 60 days. Why, you might ask? Because it sounds like a crazy task to be watching 60 Christmas movies in 60 days. It'll be struggle, no I won't lie. By the halfway point I will lose my mind, but with your support I'm gonna be fine. So let's have a blast on this Christmas time. Join me now and let's find out about today's Christmas movie. Was it good or bad? Happy or sad? Is there another dead mom and dad? Let's get to it with no delay. It's your old pal Joe and he's happy to say welcome to Joe watches 60 Christmas movies in 60 days.
How's it going, everybody? It's me, it's your old pal Joe, and welcome to Joe Watches 60 Christmas Movies in 60 Days, the podcast where somebody named Joe, that's me, watches 60 Christmas movies in 60 days. I'm tired. I am tired. It's been a long few days. It's been a long year. It's been a long few years. But I'm here with you. You're here with me. We have a movie to talk about. And we also have to mention, of course, my wonderful sponsor, Third Eye Comics. As I mentioned in every episode, Third Eye Comics is the best. They're great. They helped support this show when I didn't know if it could get made or afford to make it. But we are making it, so we're getting through it. And all thanks to them and their support. So if you have any interest in purchasing a comic or graphic novel, anything for your gaming situation, a movie, or even a vinyl record, please check them out at shop.thirdeyecomics.com. They may not have everything, but they will have something that you'll like. Let's get on with the show. And specifically, let's get on with the movie, today's movie, A Christmas Wish. I chose A Christmas Wish because it features one of my favorite actresses that I've come across during my time doing this show. And that is the actress Hilary Burton Morgan. She's delightful and very good in these Christmas movies. I've watched 2 or 3 of her movies so far. There was A Christmas Contract. There was something like A Bayou Family Christmas. I think that's right. With Ed Asner. And I don't know. I just find her very enjoyable to watch. So when I was looking for new movies for this season, I found one of hers that I hadn't watched. I earmarked it for about a week and a half in when I knew I would need a pick-me-up. So I chose this to watch today. And I did need a pick-me-up, and it is okay. It wasn't as good as the other movies, no fault of hers, or really of anybody's. It's just that the movie was kind of jumbled. There were too many subplots. They had too many characters going in, and felt the need to have all of those characters have some sort of story arc. And I just don't think it benefited the movie as a whole. Anyway, yeah, let's talk about the movie. We open on some family film footage from the olden days. Featuring people from our main character's family past, like her grandparents and her parents, things of that nature. Why did I explain that so confusingly? Because I am tired. Anyway, it's old film footage, and our main character, Faith, talks about how, for example, her grandparents, when they were kids, a kid in their neighborhood or their town of Ponchatoula Park. Anyway, this kid wished for a pony, and it was in his backyard the very next day. His parents swore they didn't buy it. And her parents, for example, at that time, one of their teachers wished for help with her financial woes, and that same week she found a winning lottery ticket on the sidewalk. Eventually, the town believed that there was real magic in the air, especially around Christmas time. They even set out a wishing box on the first day of December every year. Every single year, Faith and her sister Maddie made sure to make a wish. A lucky few would have their wishes granted by a special wish committee that was put together to kind of reinforce the idea that there was Christmas magic in the air. This whole tradition started when Faith was a kid. Even more than the wish committee, though, some people still believed that there was real magic in Ponchatoula Park. We then cut to Faith now, a full-fledged adult, a teacher even, an art teacher even. We join her as she buys supplies at the art store so they have what they need to finish their homemade Christmas projects. The proprietor of the art store says that Faith is his favorite customer. As he rings her up, they talk about the wishing box. He asks if she's made her wish yet. She says, I'm probably a little too old for such fantasies. But he says he's already made his wish. He gets a wish in there every year. Afterwards, she heads to the coffee shop where the barista points out a hot guy that Faith has been eyeing for a while. They don't know his name or anything, but he's listed as, not listed as, but they call him like basically hot coffee shop guy. We see him in the cafe working on his laptop, and despite being very handsome, Faith still has not said hi. She's worried it won't go well. What if he's not perfect? Then she meets up with her buddy Wyatt, and they head off to school. Wyatt's another teacher. He's the school nurse. On the way, they run into a lady played by Pam Grier, who is never given a name within this movie, so I will refer to her as Pam Grier. Anyway, she stumbles on the sidewalk and they help catch her so she doesn't fall. She drops all of her packages. They help get them together. We find out the reason that she stumbled is because one of the heels on her high heels broke. Faith offers her a spare pair of shoes that she had with her that she was going to wear later that evening. And there's some also high heels, but they're kind of like decorated with bows and such to look more festive. Pam Grier says no at first, but Faith convinces her to let her do a nice thing for her. It is the Christmas season after all. The woman thinks they're wonderful. She then thanks Faith and her boyfriend for their help, but they make sure to clarify they are just friends, they are not boyfriend and girlfriend. Eventually they make it to school where we see Faith lead in her art class as they make homemade gifts. The kids are about 11 and pretty much adorable. One student is unhappy with the vase that she made. It's cracked. It's ruined. Faith has an idea. She says life seldom goes as planned, so we just have to change our perspective. While talking to the little girl, she paints over the crack and turns it into a string of lights. The little girl loves it. Oh, we find out this is the last day of school before Christmas break. After class, the principal needs to speak with Faith. He has her come into his office and breaks some very bad news to her. The school board has voted to cut the funding for the arts program. By how much? All of it. There are new state mandates for technology upgrades, which means the school doesn't have the money to basically afford anything else. The arts program will have to go, and the art room itself is going to become a new computer lab. Faith is very sad, but not for her, she tells the principal. For the kids, they don't know how to express themselves, and art helps them figure it out. The principal feels really bad, but there's nothing he can do. Later that day, her buddy Wyatt stops by the classroom, and Faith breaks the bad news to him. He's stunned to hear that the arts program is affected. He actually heard also that the jazz, what do they call it? The jazz ensemble is also being cut. So man, bad news all around. Faith is very sad. She talks about how the kids need a place where they don't have to be perfect, like an art class. And he gives her a supportive hug. We join them running the carpool for kids getting picked up from class. We find out Wyatt is home for the holidays all by himself. He normally does stuff with his family, but everyone is busy that year, specifically his brother and his brother's family. They were going to go on some sort of Christmas cruise, so he doesn't have any plans. Faith insists that he join her for her family's Christmas, even though he's Jewish. But he says that's okay, I'll just stay home and play video games. In the meantime, though, they make plans for the next day, because Faith needs to buy a Christmas tree for her family's home. Actually, no, for her own home, sorry. And he's going to offer to help, basically pick it out for her. It's not that complicated, I just stumbled. When Faith gets to her parents' place that night, we find out that her sister, Maddie, is home for the season, which makes Faith very happy. She doesn't get to see her sister often. And her sister Maddie's not just there by herself. She's also brought with her her boyfriend, Ryan. It's the first time that Faith gets to meet Ryan, and he seems like a swell guy so far. At the dinner table, everyone asks Faith about her last day at school, and she doesn't talk about the department getting cut. Instead, she sort of shifts the focus to Christmas cookie decorating, which is a big to-do in their family. We find out that they have a tradition where they decorate cookies to look like a famous person, either from history or from the modern day. And the winner doesn't get anything but the knowledge that they beat everybody else. This is Ryan's first time participating, and it seems like he doesn't understand how seriously they take this. We then get a cookie decorating montage, leading us right into the judging of the cookies. Everyone has playing cards numbered 1 through 10, and they will rank the cookies on a scale of indecipherable, 1, to masterpiece, a 10. First up is a it's a green cookie made by her dad. They recognize it as the Grinch. He gets a score of 30. This is from 4 judges, so that's not very good. Cookie number 2 is Mick Jagger. This one was decorated by Faith's mom. Her score is 38, which tells you how bad her dad did. Cookie number 3, wait a second. How many judges are there? There are 4, because there's 5 characters in this scene altogether. There's Faith, there's Maddie, there's Ryan, and there's the parents. Okay, so there are 4 judges, because you can't vote for your own. But I think this movie forgot, because Faith's mom gets a score of 38 for her Mick Jagger cookie. Cookie number 3 is Elvis. This one was made by Maddie, and she gets a score of 42, which immediately sets off alarm bells. Because if there's only 4 judges, and the highest card you have is a 10, that's not a possible score. Next up is cookie number 4. It's a Perfect Ninja Turtle by Ryan. His score is 45. How's that possible, Ryan? Lastly is Faith's cookie. She takes this most serious out of everybody else, so her cookie should be perfect. And when they unveil it, it's a person with white hair, a purplish shirt, and white pants. No one recognizes it, so she has to admit that it's B. Arthur. Unfortunately for Faith, this means she gets a score of 18. Ryan is the first-time competitor and first-time winner. Later that night, Faith and Maddie chit-chat while washing dishes. Maddie can tell that there's something up with Faith and gets her to talk about it. That's when she admits the whole deal about the art program and how sad she is about it. Maddie thinks to let off a little steam, they should go out and get some very indulgent ice cream. We cut to them in the park enjoying their ice cream and also talking about how great Ryan is because, of course, Maddie is dating him and Faith wants to be supportive because he does seem great. Ryan seems like a swell fellow. Since they're talking about Maddie's romantic life, this leads them to talking about Faith's life. Is there anyone special in her life? What about that handsome coffee shop guy who apparently is so handsome to Faith, that she's mentioned it to her sister? Maddie says that they should make wishes at the wish box. Faith doesn't see the point, but plays along. The reason she doesn't see the point is the wishing committee has already chosen the people for whom they will grant wishes. And so if you don't believe in the true magic of Christmas or the true magic of wishing in Ponchatoula, there is no point in making a wish at this point because your wish is not going to come true. Maddie says you never know. Santa might answer the wish. She's half joking, but half not joking. Since Faith won't write a wish, Maddie writes one for her, for herself, but also for Faith because her wish is, I wish for Faith to have a true love's kiss. Faith laughs, but Maddie says, hey, it either comes true or it doesn't, and it's harmless fun either way. Faith thinks about it and decides, sure, why not? She drops the wish in the wishing box. We see that the box is stuffed, so her wish doesn't fit all the way down, and just as Maddie and Faith leave, a gust of wind blows the wish straight out of the box, and it lands at the feet of, well, it's mysterious Pam Grier. She reads the wish and smiles. The next morning, Faith goes out to get the paper and runs into her new neighbor, a handsome man with a son. His name is John. After a very awkward conversation where he expresses obvious interest in her, she says, well, think of me if you ever need to borrow some sugar or rice. He says, well, you know where to find me. And he says, you know where to find me, too. She heads back inside and thinks about what's just happened. We jump over to Ryan and Maddie. She's looking for a gift card they purchased for one of her parents in Ryan's bag and comes across something else. It's a little ring box. Uh-oh. She's shocked and not sure what to make of it. She hurries up and puts it back. Now over to Faith's mom, who gets a packet. You can see what I'm saying here. We're getting way too many stories already. Now we're dealing with the mom of Faith and Maddie. We got a car horn honking. Not sure why. Anyway, back to Faith's mom. We find out that she's one of the wishing committee members who will help grant wishes, and she gets her wish for the season. It's for a little boy who wants to see the Nutcracker with his granddad. She's disappointed to receive such a simple wish, but you know what? It's her job. She'll take care of it. We even hear tales of other, more elaborate wishes that she's granted, and you can see how badly she wants to make something magical happen. Everyone splits for the day, with Ryan heading off to go to work with Maddie's dad, who we find out is a police officer. And so you can see, again, we're following Ryan and Maddie and Faith's dad off to do like a day of ride-along. Now we're over at the coffee shop where Faith literally runs into the handsome coffee shop guy. He says, oh, I've noticed you here before, and I'm glad that we're finally talking because it's like suddenly you've been on my mind. He immediately asks if she'd like to have dinner with him. She's taken aback, but we'll be there. On the way out of the shop, she runs into Wyatt. They talk a bit about ideas to possibly save the art program when they notice a flash mob has started nearby. It's actually someone's wish being granted. It's for the elderly librarian at the school who recently started taking dance lessons. Apparently she wished to be a part of a flash mob, and this is her wish being granted by the wishing committee. We now cut over to Ryan and Maddie's dad, because they're on their ride along. They have a very pleasant time chatting about their lives, then head out for a shift. This is the end of this part of the story for them. Now we jump over to Maddie and Faith meeting up for the day. Maddie breaks the big proposal news to Faith that she found that the engagement ring. And Faith tells Maddie about the coffee shop guy asking her out. Maddie says, do you think it's because of that wish? Faith says, no, that's not it. Plus the wish was for a kiss, not a date. This is just a date. And Maddie says, well, kisses usually happen at the end of dates. Just then a drink arrives at the table neither of them ordered. It was sent by a handsome bloke at another table. This only makes Maddie more certain that the wish has something to do with things. We then jump over to Wyatt at home, where his brother and his brother's husband and their kid all show up unexpectedly. Remember I mentioned how they were going to go on a cruise or a ski trip or some bullshit? Well, it turns out their plans got canceled, so they decided to surprise Wyatt with a Christmas visit. They also then Faith arrives because she was going to take Wyatt with her to go pick out a Christmas tree. And the brother, Grant, is all like, oh, this is the famous Faith we've heard so much about. And the implication here being that maybe Wyatt talks about her more than you might expect. The whole group decides to go together to get a Christmas tree. This Christmas tree is for Wyatt because now he has company. He wants a Christmas tree for them. We then join Faith's mom as she works on her wish. She visits the little boy's older sister to see what else might be needed. He only wants a ticket to see the Christmas Carol. So she explains, I've gotten that covered. I got a ticket in a nearby town. And the sister's like, oh, I'm sorry, that's not going to work. He wants to, if his granddad's going to go, it has to be close because he can't travel far. And with that, Faith's mom has an idea. Over at the tree farm, one of Faith's students and his mom says hi. The mom thanks Faith for all she's done for her son. Her art class has brought out a side of him that they've never seen. Faith is really touched by this news. After that, she runs into Pam Grier. She's there as well. Ryan's niece even thinks that this is Mrs. Claus. Not Ryan's niece, Wyatt's niece. See how this movie's screwing me up? Anyway, Wyatt's niece thinks that this is Mrs. Claus and Pam Grier plays along. We notice Pam Grier taking a special interest in Wyatt and Faith's relationship. We then get a tree shopping montage, which is interrupted by Faith running into a handsome guy who is very into her instantly. But she's not reciprocating it at all, so you have this guy who's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to bump into you. How are you doing? I've never seen you around here before. And you have her going, oh, I'm fine, thank you. And she's just adjusting her clothes. She's not paying any attention to him. Wyatt notices this unequal type of attention, but Faith says, no, he's not really into me. He's just being polite. They eventually get the tree back to Wyatt's. He invites Faith to stay, help set up the tree, but she has a date. Wyatt is quietly devastated, but plays it strong. Now over to Faith's mom, dealing with her wish that she's granting. She's decided to put on a live performance of A Christmas Carol there in town at the local church before Christmas services take place on Christmas Eve. Now it's time for Faith's big date. They go to an Italian restaurant. The dinner chat goes well, with each talking about their jobs and why they like them. She shows off her students' homemade gifts. He's not very interested in them. But then he sees a painting that Faith did, and he's blown away. Wait, do you sell these paintings? And she goes, no, it's just a hobby. My job is teaching, and I just can't imagine doing anything else. As she says this, she looks at a photo of herself and Wyatt together. The next day, we're back at the school because Faith has to start cleaning out the art room. Wyatt and Maddie are there to help. Maddie wants to find out about the big date, which causes Wyatt to immediately excuse himself. He doesn't want to hear anything about that at all. We find out that the date overall went well, as there's another date already planned. We also find out that there's a district holiday party that night, and I don't know what that means. And best I could tell, it's just for members of the school, maybe the schools in that district, because that's who goes to the party later on. Then Faith gets a call from coffee shop guy. He's wondering if Faith might be free right then. She sure is. She heads over to the coffee shop, which is apparently where coffee shop guy lives. There he explains that actually he's heading out of town for a ski trip the next day. So he doesn't know when they'll be able to see each other again. Might she be interested in a date that very night? She says, unfortunately, no, because of the holiday party that she has to go to. He also has a gift for her, and it's a book that has a cartoonishly designed cover, which reads, How to Turn Your Art into Profit. He said he saw it and thought of her. She says, you saw this book and thought of me? He says, yeah. You can tell that she's a bit offended by this, but doesn't let on. She then runs into, literally, another guy, and man, she is fed up with running into all these random hot guys. Now it's time for the holiday party. While there, Faith has brought her sister, Ryan, her sister's boyfriend. Wyatt's there, and also Wyatt's brother, even though he doesn't play a big part in this scene. And she has a task for them. Since everybody there is from the school district, what they want to do is basically have everyone talk up how good the art program is and how beneficial it is for kids. But then the band starts playing, and Wyatt and Faith start dancing, and they're very close and could smooch at any moment. Wyatt seems like he's getting ready to admit that he has feelings for Faith when the head of the school board walks in. Faith immediately has to end that dance and then goes over to talk to the woman. She talks about the importance of art, and the school board lady is very receptive. She ends up showing the woman some of the pieces from the students on her phone. They get interrupted by another guy walking into her. It's the guy from the tree farm. And then the new neighbor even is there. He walks up. Faith is overwhelmed and runs out of the party. Maddie runs out to check on her. Faith says, this wish is ruining her life. Maddie says, maybe we can try to take the wish back? You never put a wish in. I never put a wish in. You put my wish in. So maybe we can try to unwish it? We cut to them at the wishing box. But the box is gone. It's not where it's supposed to be. They conclude someone must have stolen the box. The next day, Faith's whole family is on top of the missing box problem. Faith gets an idea and Googles on how to break a wish. We then get a montage of her blowing out candles, rubbing a lamp, sitting on Santa's lap, tossing tons of coins into a fountain, things like that, all for naught. Her new idea is to just get this gosh darn true love kiss over with. She races to meet up with coffee shop guy at the coffee shop before he departs. She gives him a giant kiss as a goodbye. She's satisfied that this wish has now been officially granted or completed. But then a delivery guy immediately walks up and asks her out. The wish is still working. Gosh darn it. That night, Wyatt visits Faith. She thinks he's just there to hang out, but he gets very serious. He says, look, you're my best friend. I love our relationship. But lately I've been wondering if maybe we could be more than just friends. She immediately gets upset. She goes, oh, no, not you too. She explains that this is just a phase because she thinks it's the wish that's causing him to act this way. She says, it's just a phase. In a few days, you won't feel this way. He says, it's more than that. I'm in love with you. She says, none of this is real. It's just a cosmic joke that has gone wrong. Wyatt is understandably hurt and rushes out. She says, I'm sorry. He turns back to say he's sorry too. The next day, Maddie suggests to Faith that maybe Wyatt's feelings are actually real. Faith doesn't buy it. If that was the case, why wait until now to say something? Oh, but they get a call. They get a call from Faith's dad, who's a police officer. The wishing box has been found. We cut to the park where we see the culprits were two of Faith's students. They promised they planned to return the box, but what they wanted to do was they wanted to add their own wishes to the wishing box that they would wish that the art program would get saved. But they had already wished for things, so they had to get their wishes out of the wishing box, and all of this required them to take the box to sort everything out. And they promised they were going to bring it back. Faith is so touched that they wanted to make their wish for the art program to stay. And that wishing box, well, that gives Faith an idea. We then get a montage of her doing things and kids passing out flyers to a newly announced Christmas Eve art show. We cut to the art room where the kids have arrived, and Faith explains what they're going to do. They're going to take some of the ungranted wishes from the wishing box, and the kids are going to paint paintings reflective of those wishes. So, like one example that we see later is that someone wanted to go on a trip. And so what they did was they painted that person on their trip. Cute things like that. And then they'll sell these art pieces, I guess, at the art show, or they'll just show them off. They're not trying to raise money this way. They're just going to show the pictures off. Now over to Wyatt and his brother out walking. His brother thinks that maybe Faith was just scared when Wyatt admitted his feelings for her. Maybe she's afraid of ruining things between them. Wyatt, though, isn't so sure. There, they on a local telephone pole, they find a ad for the art show. We join Faith and family exchanging Christmas gifts on Christmas Eve. There's a special Christmas Eve single gift exchange. And Ryan, who gets a gift from somebody in this family, decides that he doesn't need that gift. There's only one gift that he wants, and this is when he proposes to Maddie, and she wholeheartedly accepts. Everyone is so happy for them. Back to the art show. The place is packed with people to check the art out. Faith is there taking it all in, very proud of her students and what they've accomplished. Then Wyatt shows up to show support. They each say things are fine between them. They're going to be okay. But then Faith notices the school board lady's there. Her wish was one of the ones that was painted. And this is the one that actually wanted to go on the trip with her husband, and they end up painting her and her husband in silhouette mode since they didn't really know what it looked like, or what the person looked like. So it's a cute rendition of two people on an island. The woman from the school board is really touched by seeing her a painting of her wish. Faith gives her the last pitch. Look, these kids gave you your wish. I hope that you can give them theirs. The lady thinks. Then we cut to Faith looking for Wyatt. She has great news that she wants to share. The lady said yes, that they're going to refund the arts program. But Wyatt's nowhere to be found. But she does find her sister Maddie, who brings up a present that Wyatt had left for her. She opens the gift, and inside there's a card. You give so much of yourself to others, I wanted to be the one to give back to you. And inside is a new pair of really decorative high heels. Faith is touched. Maddie says that maybe this might show that his feelings were real. Grant, Wyatt's brother, is there and overhears this statement. He goes, oh, no, actually, yeah, he's been into you for a while. He's been talking about you for months. Faith gets excited. She needs to find Wyatt. Oh, wait, before we go there, we have to close out the Christmas Carol wish, because now it's time for the live performance of A Christmas Carol for that little kid. The kid and his grandpa love it. Enough with that. We then find Wyatt has arrived at the wishing box. Pam Grier walks up and asks if he's going to make a wish. Wyatt says he's not sure if a slip of paper will solve his problems. Pam Grier gives him a speech about how making a wish is a chance to be honest with yourself about the things that are really important to you. He picks up a pen and makes his wish. And this reminds me, I'm going to do a little aside here since this episode is running pretty quickly, and it makes me happy since I have to do more work. But it reminds me of something my therapist once said. I was just trying to figure out, why I was unhappy about something or what I wanted out of something. And she was just like, think about what it is you do want out of it. Like, just think, be as concrete as possible. Because, once you imagine that thing, once you have an idea for it, then it's so much easier to work towards. Like if you just say, I want to be happier, that's so vague. That doesn't give you anything to work towards. But if you say, I want a puppy, or I want a new car, or I want a new job, these are concrete things that you can work towards. And that's a big difference when you're trying to, actually do something for yourself. And so in this case, him writing down his wish kind of takes the vague idea of what he wants out of his head and puts it into black and white terms that then he can feel, he can think about, he can react to. So I thought that was a very appropriate way to get him to distill what it's inside of him. He picks up a pen and makes his wish. And then Faith shows up and Pam Grier disappears. Faith tells him that she loves her new shoes. She then says that she wants to be honest with Wyatt. The last few days have been strange and confusing and overwhelming. She knows what she said before, but the truth is that Faith is just scared. He's her best friend, and she doesn't want to lose that. But the truth is also that she's in love with him too. She then noticed that he had started writing a wish, and she picks it up to take a look at what it says. And his wish was to spend Christmas with Faith. Faith starts to tear up, and then they kiss, and that's pretty much the end of the movie. It was fine. It wasn't as good as the other Hilary Burton Morgan movies I'd watched, but again, it wasn't her fault. There was just too much stuff in this movie. I trimmed some of it because so much of it didn't go anywhere. Like I didn't tell you about the present that Ryan got for Maddie's dad, which was a pair of drumsticks, because on their day out in the police car, we find out that Maddie's dad used to be in a band when he was younger. And it's like, that's pleasant and all, but it doesn't fold into anything. It's almost just like it's just content for the sake of adding to the movie's overall length. So, yeah, I mean, you're not going to go wrong if you watch this movie. You're going to have a fine time if you watch A Christmas Wish. I just think it could have been better if it was pared down a bit. Who's the MVP of this movie? Come on, what are we talking about here? The MVP is obviously going to be Hilary Burton Morgan as Faith. She's delightful in this. I will, probably next season, see if I can find another movie featuring her, just because it's a nice respite from the terrible things that I come across, like a Fireman for Christmas or A Christmas Love. So that's it. That's it for episode 12. Thank you for listening. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll see you again tomorrow. Have a good day.